Bum-ba-da-dum! Howdy, welcome to BanjoBenClark.com. I'm Banjo Ben, your host. Today is Banjo Week, and I'm really excited because this is the first lesson in a big old series that we're probably going to do for years called Pick a Lick. Now, what do I mean by that? I mean that we're going to take a lick that we all know, and we're going to pick it apart. Okay? In this case, today, starting it off, we're going to do it with that Foggy Mountain breakdown lick. You know which one I'm talking about? Okay, or something like that. We're going to take that lick, we're going to pull apart every little piece of it, and we're going to find out ways to take one lick and make 4 or 5 or 6 different licks that almost sound like different licks, and they are, but using the same standard skeleton structure. This way, we can begin to grow our lick vocabulary using the very licks that we already know. This is a lot of fun to do, and the application is endless. So we're going to pick a lick, pick it apart, and then we're going to pick it back together again. If you're watching here on the website, BanjoBenClark.com, as a Gold Pick member, you can scroll right down beneath this video, see the rest of the video segments, the tabs. Don't forget, also, check out, I have a Fireball Mail version down there where we're going to put this stuff to practice. Okay, so be sure and check out those tabs as well as the MP3s of that song. If you're watching on Facebook or YouTube, here in a little while I'll ask you to come over to the website. You can join as a Gold Pick member and have hundreds of lessons like all my Gold Pick members do. Let's jump right into Pick a Lick. First lesson, Foggy Mountain lick. Now, the first thing that we need to do is take the lick that we're picking apart and we need to break it down to its basic elements. When you think about the Foggy Mountain lick, it's based around a forward roll. And I want to mention really quickly, as far as forward rolls go, I have a study on that you need to check out on the site if you haven't done that already. And if you've never learned the Foggy Mountain lick, pause, go to the beginner learning track and watch that lesson so that you can have the fundamentals needed to do this really cool lesson. But whenever we look at the Foggy Mountain lick, we're rolling over a forward roll. Just really quick, let's just practice a forward roll together before we begin tinkering with this lick. Let's throw up the first line of tab there, and we're going to go ahead and get our 3rd fret on the 2nd string pressed down because that's where we're going to have it a lot. And we're going to practice rolling through this forward roll without any breaks, and that creates a bit of a syncopation because a forward roll, as you know, is 3 notes, and our regular measure here has only room for 8 notes. So 3 notes into an 8-note measure, you're going to have some left over. So we get this perpetual syncopation that happens. And if you use that TEF file there, you can hear that guitar rhythm playing behind this roll, and it gives you that feeling of the forward roll rolling over a 4/4 guitar rhythm. That's important to get your ear used to if you've never done that before. Now let's do something that you probably have never done before. Take that very same roll pattern, and let's, instead of every time we hit the 2nd string, instead of just holding down the 3rd fret, let's hammer onto it. And these are those quick, sharp hammer-ons that go from the 2nd to 3rd fret. Let's use our first 2 fingers and try to do them very resolutely, very crisply. We want to get that pop. Okay? And remember, well, let's just keep this forward roll going. What does that sound like? It sounds like this. The reason why I want to do that is because I want to break any habits, any ear habits or finger habits that you might have playing that forward roll with the hammer-on of only doing certain patterns. We need to break that down so that we can then apply this forward roll with the hammer-on however we want to as we look at the different ways to play it. Again, let's just review. Let's look at the tab of this standard Foggy Mountain lick, or at least one way to do it. Here in measure 10, it sounds like this. Now, there's a couple things I want to pull your attention to. One is, there in measure 11, we have those double hammer-ons in a row. I'm pretty adamant that for that 2nd hammer-on, listed as number 4, that we drop down and play that with our thumb. So anytime that we have those 2 hammer-ons back to back without another 5th string in between them, use your thumb to go down and hit that. And that's something that you learn in the Foggy Mountain lick lesson. Now, why do I have them numbered? That's because every time that I have a number there, it's an instance of the 2nd string going to the 1st string. which can be a hammer-on. Sometimes it's not. Number 2 is not a hammer-on. But what we can do is we can begin to take each one of those 4 instances and we can begin to move them around. We can pick it apart and we can put some close together. We can spread some far apart. And so if you notice there, number 3 and number 4, those are right next to each other. We have nothing in between them. But between numbers 1 and 2, there is a 5th string there. Okay, so we can take that 5th string, we can move it wherever we want. So we want to be able to think holistically and totally about these licks and think about how we can begin to move these little parts around in 2 measures to make it sound like a different lick. Let me show you one way we can do it, and then we'll do it a whole bunch of other ways. One way we could do it, there in measure 13, is what I just call the even Foggy Mountain lick. Now, what am I doing here? Here, I'm going to take each one of those 4 instances where we have our 2nd string going to our 1st string, and I'm going to place a 5th string in between them. And it works out just fine. That's pretty cool, isn't it? We have to change the end of the measure 15 just a little bit, but this one sounds like this. So all the way we did was we took that forward hammer exercise that we've already done and we worked it into this lick. Let me play the 2 licks back to back, just see if you can hear the difference. And both of these take up the same amount of time, so it'd be great to use these in 2 different places where you need them in the same song. Listen. Here we go. Pretty cool. It sounds quite a bit different, but we have the same amount. Here's what I want you to see. We have the same amount of hammer-ons, just about, in the first one as we do the second one. Almost all the same notes are being played, but it sounds like 2 completely different licks. All because we took those 4 instances that we know, that we identified, and we just began to move them around and put 8th notes here and there. Now this will make more sense as we continue to go on. Let's check it out. Now,